Welcome to Colonize the Ocean podcast, where we discuss oceanic colonization, exploration, and education with your hosts Adam Jewell and Brendan Traxler.
Welcome, everyone, once again to the ASC live stream. I'm the second best looking guy on this channel, Adam Jewell, and the other guys are Brendan Traxler and Babe. I'm going to let them compete on who's one and who's three.
Who's number one there?
See, I created some tension because now you guys are always going to have that back in your mind. Like, I don't know if he's necessarily one.
I really don't care.
But yes, welcome to ASC live stream. It's been a minute.
Yes, it has. I was trying to remember when the last one we did.
We did a New Year's one, or we did a January one.
Have we done one? I couldn't remember if we did one in 2024.
I think we did one. Yeah, I think we did do one. Learn to talk. Come on.
Yeah, I have that issue.
How you gentlemen doing?
Okay.
Babe just nods his head.
Yeah.
Babe, you don't have to go into detail, Babe, but you've been pretty busy. Yes. It sounds like you're keeping occupied and doing some new adventures and all that. So you're probably running on fumes.
No, actually, I'm not, because I told Brendan before the show here, because of my new schedule, I actually get to sleep in till 6 a.m. if I want. So I'm moving on up. I feel good. I mean, used to getting up about 4, so it's.
There's a certain point in time where that's not so bad. Like I used to have to do that 4:30. I'd be at work at 4:30 a.m. But then when I had kids and stuff, I'm like, yeah, this sucks. I don't want to do this anymore.
Dude, even when I was back 19, I had a job where I had to be at work at 6. I could never get used to getting up that early, even back then.
No, I still can't. That's my start time at 6, and it's still every morning. It's the first time I've ever woke up early. I'm like, ugh.
I like my workout time to be in the morning, so that's why it feels good to me, because that gives me that time.
Oh, you're waking up early to work out?
Yeah, I can get and work out and go to work, and I feel good.
I mean.
Brendan, can you kick him off? I don't need somebody with this kind of this smug attitude on here trying to show us up and act like he's better than us.
It's better to work out in the morning anyway. So
yeah, I'm the old guy too.
Fine, whatever, babe. I guess you're better than us.
What's wrong with you, Adam? Since you want to ask the questions.
Nothing. No, nothing new. Just life, man.
Okay.
Taking care of them babies and working.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Hey. What about you? You're the one that's actually been. Oh, hold on. The baby.
I'm just gonna tell from my point of view, what I see of you and your family. This is an actual compliment. You're a good dad, man.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
You are welcome.
I didn't follow Adam on social media, so I don't know what goes on.
Yeah, Brendan doesn't follow me on social media because I got him upset a couple years ago, and he just hasn't decided to add me back. So, one of my best friends, and he's just like, "I'm tired of your crap."
I'm still friends with you on social media. Here's the thing: I don't follow almost anybody unless you're a business or something like that. I don't follow you because I don't want to get involved in all that trauma.
Extra.
Yep.
Right.
The problem is that I used to get really political on Facebook, and Brendan and I don't always see eye to eye on that kind of thing. But hey, life lesson though, I respect Brendan for making that move, because that's what I did with a lot of friends and family, where it's
me too.
I don't want to argue with you about stuff, so I'm just going to unfollow you.
I still want to be friends with you and know what's going on, and love to be able to contact you, but I just don't want to see it all.
Yeah, it's just I don't care if you think that the Earth is flat, and that's why I unfollowed Brendan, because he was posting that stuff.
Oh my gosh.
I'm kidding. Anyways, let's get down to brass tacks.
Yeah.
What's going on with ASC?
Well, let's talk about that. So the three of us, we had a meeting. What was it, about a week or so ago? We talked about a bunch of different stuff we wanted to see happen in 2024, and I kind of laid out what some of my vision was for 2024 about we need to do something big this year, because there's a bunch of different organizations out there actually working on doing some stuff, and some of them we got some really good contacts and stuff with. So I just want to show off really quick some stuff. Creatus, who's out of Costa Rica, who I talked to last month in December. And I actually just shot the guy a message this morning, just checking in. And they said they're working. So what they're doing is they're a group that's come together to build modular underwater habitats off the coast of Costa Rica. So they're working on that. The big thing about Costa Rica is, like anything, is the legislation and the laws and all that kind of stuff. And it's a little finicky in Costa Rica. But he said, hey, that's what they're working on right now. And to get some of their scale models out there in the water and stuff like that. We got some new ones because they're hoping to show off pretty soon. That's exciting. They're actually going to get something, even if it's a scale model, out there in the water, that they're working through some stuff. So,
hey, Brendan, do me a favor. Do you want to inch closer to your mic a little bit? You're muffled at the moment.
Is this still bad?
No.
Oh my God, be bent over.
It was it almost sounded like something was covering. I don't know.
Weird.
Maybe it's an internet thing. I'm not sure.
Maybe.
Sorry.
Because I'm closer to my mic than I've ever been.
And you sound great right now, by the way.
Okay. Anyway, so we got them. Who else we got? Deep with their Sentinel project, who they've been showing off a bunch of stuff here recently. Hey, there's Glenn.
Hey, Glenn.
Glenn!
So they've been showing off a bunch of stuff, really cool videos and stuff on their website. I mean, I would save it. They're getting a modular program, which I think is going to be the ongoing thing we're going to keep on seeing here. I mean, that's something we've been speaking on for years and years, is that you have to be modular. That's the only way it's going to make sense, is to be a modular platform. And we've seen these guys, Creatus, even Fabian with Proteus, there's parts of it that are modular to the extent of expansion and stuff along those lines. So I think that is the key, is the modularity. And then our friend Ben over with Arctide, he's actually got something in the water, and there's an actual picture of his floating house. Actually, I was supposed to go down last week, and we talked, and we decided not to do it. And then this weekend they're having a huge thing. So I said, hey, we'll just work it out. We'll get down there. If I'm going to get down there, I'm going to get on that thing with him. We're probably going to push off or something like that. Who knows?
That's not the actual picture, though.
Yeah, that's the actual picture.
That's not
a drone picture.
Yeah,
that's not
that's a photograph.
Oh, from where I'm sitting, it looks like it's 3D.
Yeah, that's actually it.
Huh, cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. And then you once again, it's modular. You can just snap more of those together and make a bigger platform. And they're then they had talked to me about it, putting an underwater room into it in some sort. And so that's something they're looking at doing down the road as well. Obviously, first their focus, like everybody, is just get these out and get them produced and get going on them. So that's where they're at. So we got these three that are all dealing with modular habitats, whether it's above or under the water. One of them actually is physically there, and the other two are, in different stages. So it's exciting times going on out there.
Interrupting you super quick.
Yeah.
You talked about the importance of modular design or whatever. And one thing, I guess I've never really made the connection with, but obviously makes sense, is when you look at the International Space Station, it was also a modular design. So, and I can't remember when it went into service, but it was built with the intent of being able to add or replace or fix or whatever with its design, and that was however many years ago now.
Yeah.
When did it go up?
In the 90s, I think.
Oh, I don't remember.
I think it started in the 90s.
I'll Google it. You keep talking.
Yeah. And yeah, and maybe subconsciously that's maybe where I got some of the ideas for ASC too. Is that, or just this fact that it would not be financially smart to have to sink and lower a habitat every time to fix something or add on to it, and the costs and all that kind of stuff too. I mean,
1998, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to say 97.
I thought it was a lot earlier than that.
Um, even if, I mean, you look at houses and stuff like that, if you could do that with your house where each room is just detachable and you just like, instead of build on, just attach it on. I don't know.
I think we will see more of that in the future. I think there's already a lot of companies that are trying to figure out fast ways. Like you see a lot of those like 3D printed houses now.
Yep.
I think you're going to see that in it too, because where it's like, I mean, think of how convenient it'd be, take the underwater aspect out of it.
Right.
It's just like, say it's just you and you're just like, you know what? I just need a tiny little space or whatever. I just need my one little modular unit. And it's just like, well, then you get married or whatever. And it's just like, we probably need a little bit more space.
Yep.
And then you have a couple kids. It's like, well, they're going to need rooms too. So I need to pop on a couple more spaces. And it's like, you just build as your family grows. Or, if you work out of the house or whatever, you're like, I need an office. So it's like, click it on.
Yeah. And Glenn chimes in here. He said that modular is safer as long as you can isolate. And yeah, obviously that's the key too, is figuring that out. I think with housing and stuff like that, it's been just as simple just to build onto it. But once again, it's all a cost and scale thing. I agree with you. I think that you could definitely maybe even revolutionize building if you could figure out a way to do that easy.
That's the hospital I work for.
Yeah.
That's how they're building their new facility in another city, about 40 miles away. And that's how they're building the facility. It's all modular. They're just bringing piece after piece, and just because they know, it was pre-designed, it was and that's how it is. It's all just, they're literally snapping the rooms together instead of, building the whole structure.
Sure.
One of the new hotels here where I live, that when I watched it as it was being built, and that's exactly how they did it. Like you would see that like there were prefabricated like, I guess, rooms or whatever that you could see were just being brought in and then added on, which I'd never seen before. So that was kind of cool. So yeah, same thing with what Brendan was saying with a lot of these different structures that are, in pursuit, because it's just like, that's what's going to make sense.
And I think obviously people are going to, well, it's not going to last as long as it used to anymore. Everything in today's world is so, throwaway for the most part. So obviously you want your house to last longer than 5-10 years, but at the same time, if it's easily replaceable, it doesn't really matter at that point in time. If it gets tore up, you just take off the portion and slap another part on too. I mean, that might be the extreme case. But that's how I see it especially for, ASC is exactly what you're talking about. If your house grows or your business grows, let's look at it from a business standpoint of you start off with two pods per se for your, whatever, and then you hire on more people, you're going to need more room. Or if it's a data center, if you start selling more, you're going to add more servers on or replace them. So you detach a pod, bring the service, swap out the servers, bring it back down, put another one on, or vice versa. So I think there's a lot you can do with cutting down the cost. I think is a big thing is how you cut that cost down.
Well, and I think an important thing to add on to that is it's not about like the longevity of the structure, like where you're saying like everything's throwaway now. I don't think I wouldn't want to look at it like that, more so as the fact that the repeatability of the manufacturing of it, that's where it becomes into huge play. Because going back to like building a house, so many people have a unique design for a house to where it's like they can't very easily be prefabricated or pre-built or whatever, like for custom houses, because everybody wants a unique little difference, and it's going to change how everything goes into play. Whereas like a modular design is just like, yeah, you might not have a unique or one of a kind look, but you'll be able to get those, like you said, those rooms or modules quicker, faster, cheaper, and preferably something that's still a good high quality product.
And the thing with being underwater, and first off, I would just want to make sure everybody screenshots this right here.
Glenn, come on now.
I mean,
dude's
we all
already
know
got
that.
a big head.
Glenn said that I was correct.
He's gonna kick in here in a second. He's gonna be like, "Well, Adam's got a good point too." So, right, Glenn.
So the thing with underwater though is the external doesn't really matter because most people aren't going to be seeing the outside of your house, your business, or whatever like that. the exterior doesn't really matter as much as the interior matters. The outside can be as ugly as sin, as long as it's, structurally sound and, does everything you need it to do. Obviously, everybody wants something that looks sexy. And I think that you can do a lot with that on the outside, but it's not as important, I guess, is my point there.
To tag on to that, though, part of the intent with a lot of these is that it can acclimate to the environment too. So
Right.
if, like, do you need a shiny, like, awesome color, whatever, outside, if coral's going to build on it, if, all this other stuff's going to start building up on it anyways? Like, why waste or put all that extra money into being like, well, I want a really cool color on it? It's like, well, it's going to be hidden up because it's going to start acclimating to the environment, which is what we prefer to see. Just so
once again, it's up to the person. If they want to keep it cleaned off and keep it shiny, they can.
Sure. The way we kind of see it, I guess you could say, is like being able to have that. I guess if they would want to paint it but that's a lot to me. That's like a lot of unnecessary maintenance to have to do with it. But we've also stressed in the fact it's like once you buy it, you do whatever you want, really. But
yeah. And some other, so keeping on moving here a little bit. Unless, Babe, do you have anything to add into the conversation?
No, I'm good.
Okay, all right. Babe's good.
I'm still waiting for Glenn to say Adam's correct too, but I'll keep an eye on the chat. You go ahead and talk.
Okay, yeah. Somebody else we haven't talked about here recently is Martin Hankey with Kalamar Park over in Turkey, and him and me are going to be talking either late tonight or early tomorrow morning. I shot him a message today. He sent me a message on accident. He sent me this German message. Like, what the heck? So I jumped on Google Translate and translate what he's saying. And it kind of related to our last conversation. So he's like, oh man, I didn't mean to send that to you. I was like, well, it's in German. I thought it was kind of weird. You're sending me something in German, but whatever. I figured it out.
It's like, you better figure it out now because I'm tired of trying to talk to you in English.
So anyway, it'll either be late tonight or early tomorrow morning that I'll talk to him and catch up with him, see what is going on with him. Because last time we talked, they were close to having a possibility of a good move coming their way. So we shall see. What's Glenn got going over there, Adam?
He didn't say anything that I wanted to hear, but
it's like for the initial introduction into the cost benefit of anything that can be replaced easily and quickly at a lower cost and special consideration is always a plus in the prototype.
Put that other one up there real quick.
Well, I'm still trying to sink in the wisdom that Glenn is throwing out there.
Trying to absorb what he said. I like that other thing. You say.
But let's talk initial call is going to be high. Initial of anything, especially when you're doing prototypes and figuring out the quantities of scale and having to do all that kind of stuff. Your initial cost, we know it's going to be expensive in comparison to what it can be once we get up and running.
Once you build your first few or whatever, then you kind of know. Nice, Brendan. Once you build your first few, I mean, and I talked about this a long time ago in one of our early live streams about the whole like lean manufacturing, about like, having good tooling, having good, like knowing what your process is, knowing like where you're, what you're failing on, what you're succeeding at, how to set up your workplace, how to just do everything to where it's just like, okay, like this is how we can make this repeatable quicker, and like the amount of work that's going into it is less, so that your cost is less, and using just the right amount of supplies and whatever it may be, and like shopping around to making sure you're getting good prices on your supplies that go into it and your materials. So
and like Glenn says, the maintenance is always more expensive than the initial cost. Yeah, upkeep is always a thing. And like I say, I've said on here, that's what I think one of my biggest flaws is I hate maintenance of anything, including my own body. It's what I've learned over the years. I just hate maintenance. I like to get things up and going and just let them go. So that's really a area I have to work on better in my life, is just maintenance in general. But talking about costs like that, that's something Ben with Arctide that him and me have been talking about, is just now that they've got a plant and they're building them. He was talking to me, off the record, and I'm going to spill the beans and stuff like that, but costs and what they think they can get the costs down to build these at scale is, ridiculous, what they're going to be able to do as they're growing it. But once again, all that initial cost of getting all the manufacturing, get the building, getting all that pre-set up, they had to think an initial huge amount of money into it to get to that point. Glenn says hi, by the way.
Howdy, Glenn.
Man, that's gotta hurt, babe, because like we both got you're right, and you just gotta.
Oh.
Babe's not saying anything, so
he knows I'm already right. He has confidence in me like I do, so I'm good. I don't need someone to tell me I'm right.
Maybe he's telling us that we're right because he's just like, babes, they're helping them, so they have to kind of know what they're talking about a little bit.
I will segue real quick and say that we are on X again this time. We tried last time to go on X. And we had actually, before we went live, we had a couple people hop in here. So yeah, I'm trying that one out. I think what it's going to be. We were doing LinkedIn. We weren't getting too much off of LinkedIn before, so I kind of dropped that out and moved to us on to X, YouTube, and Facebook for the time being. So we'll see what happens. But I am going to be starting, and I haven't even told you guys this. I'm going to start hopping on Twitch a few nights a week, stuff like that. Not doing games, just hanging out, chilling out as I work on emails and stuff like that. As I work, I'm just going to be on there in the just chatting. So if anybody wants to hop on there and just chat about ASC, underwater habitat, stuff along those lines, I'm just going to hopping on Twitch for maybe like an hour or so a night or something like that, and being in there for people to talk. So just FYI, that's where you can find me. But some other stuff we came up with. Well, so going back to what we talked about towards the beginning, we just had a Glenn says he's been missing us.
Glenn, we've missed missing you too.
Well, Glenn, this is one of the things we talked about. This is one of the things we talked about in the meeting was we had split this off and started doing this on Patreon for the and it was good because we were able to really vent out some stuff we didn't feel comfortable saying in public, and then we could edit it out later and stuff like that for the people on Patreon. But we think we're going to pull back and we're going to start doing these back live again for everybody, just because it is so much more fun to have this kind of interaction, which we didn't necessarily get from the Patreon. Not the Patreon people's fault. It's just not as big of a community in Patreon it is out here.
Yeah. Well, and then sorry, go ahead.
No, I said Glenn's just saying how he started a new business venture in Texas, and it takes a lot of time.
And we also, the last time we talked, we were trying to brainstorm some incentives for the Patreon in exchange.
We're going to talk about that here in a second.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that was one of the things too, just so the people that are part of it, I mean, we appreciate everything that's going into it, but to be able to offer something, I guess, or offer, I don't know, create an incentive, but like you said, you're going to talk about it, so
yeah.
I'll let you.
Yeah, I wanted to go over kind of what we talked about in our meeting, at a really high level, and just some of the stuff that, especially the stuff that I've been pushing, and you and me have been having conversations about, Adam. But some of the stuff like we talked about was trading cards, and that was really an idea that came up not only just to generate some sort of revenue, but more so to add a perk for our Patreon members, also a neat little marketing and get the name out there type of thing. So that's one thing we're kind of looking into. Still trying to hash out exactly what that's going to be, what's going to be on it, stuff along those lines. I mean, I don't know if you guys have thought any more about it since then, or if you have anything to add, Adam, since it's kind of more your idea than anything.
No, but yeah, I mean, yeah, we kind of tossed the idea around about, having like some sort of like, I guess, a collectible trading card type deal of, that would have, a picture of the habitat, obviously, or the design proposal, and, I'm sure put a snippet of info or whatever, and then like, create a series of those for a while, and then kind of a collect 'em all type deal. And I don't know. And I don't know if I'll talk to you about it afterwards. I don't know if it's something that we wanted to bring up on this, but we tossed some other ideas around too. But just something that, like, because with any Patreon that's out there, whether it's for like a YouTube channel, a podcast, or whatever it is, I mean, there's always that trade-off. Like I a Patreon member of a certain podcast or whatever, and then they have like exclusive shows or whatever, which is great because it's a it's for a podcast, and then they give a bonus podcast for those members. So, but I mean, the weird thing of like what kind of how we're in is that yes, we do social media stuff, we do the lives and stuff, but that's not the business. It's something we do for outreach and stuff. But so it's like offering a special live stream. It was an idea we tried and tossed around and tried to use this thing, but that's not the main business thing. So trying to, like Brendan said, create something that we can still offer people to join the Patreon in exchange for, their donations and patronage, like something that's unique to the project and to the business and all that that you can physically have.
Yeah, and it's not even so much just for, obviously we're thinking Patreon, but it's so much more than just Patreon too. We're looking at scaling it out past then, depending on how interested people are and how that takes off and how well it looks too. I mean, if it's going to look cheesy and stuff like that, I'm not going to put the name behind it, but definitely that's something. And then something that I don't know if maybe you want to talk about your idea of the maps and stuff along those lines too. There's something else we threw out there. It's something that we're kind of looking into. I know you did some looking into it as well, but maybe had any idea about doing some location maps
for coral reefs, basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just to highlight coral reefs, and like a graphic rendition of it that's part photo, part map,
topographical,
with some information. Yeah, it'd be similar to topographical. Yeah, like your satellite overlay or something with some information about just different popular or major coral reefs that are easy to identify. Because I looked some up just on like Google Maps just to see, and Google Earth just to see what pops up, and they pop up easy enough. And then it's trying to find if that idea already exists, and so far I have not found the ideal of what I keep thinking it should look like. I find things similar to it, but not that thing I'm envisioning.
Sure.
So I'm going to keep looking. I've been a little busy here the last couple of days, so kind of got stalled on it.
Cool. And then a couple of things that the big one. So one thing I said in 2024, I wanted to do something big, and this is a long shot, and it's something that is really on. I actually contacted a lawyer today to start talking about the possibilities of how this would even play out and how this would work. First, before I say, let's get the Glenn here real quick. He's like, you guys have dedicated a lot of time and effort to get this accomplished. I know your hearts are in the arena. I don't know what I can do to help you get to the prototype. Yeah, Glenn, I know. And that's what I was about ready to say here. One thing that, I want to do something big because I don't feel like we're pushing it enough and getting the name out there and generating the name, which will bring in the money, hopefully. So, like I say, so I reached out to a lawyer today to start talking about this, but the idea of doing a large raffle with the intent of, I won't get too deep into it, but the idea of doing a large raffle and partnering with a bunch of different, like either nonprofits or different dive shops around the nation and something along those lines to do something large in the name of ASC to give something away, which would, once again, if done right, will hopefully bring in money, but at the same time will bring in notoriety and put our name on the map and hopefully get some out there in front of some people. There's a lot of questions legally about this. And so that's why I'm trying to figure out where to go from here. So hopefully I'll hear back from the lawyer soon. If not, I'll keep on beating on that drum. But to the extent of, do we even need to create a nonprofit? And I know that, who was it? Somebody a year ago, it's going to kill me now. I can't remember who it was. Talked about possibly us looking into making a nonprofit. Not too keen on it, but if we need to do that, it might be a route we're going to go down to. I'll find all this out here in the upcoming week, probably. So we'll see. That's going to be a big deal and a lot of work. But it also could be a big thing for us as well to get our name out there to actually do something. Hey, and if it goes off, and maybe something we'll do on an annual basis or something like that, an ASC annual type of thing. Who knows? But we need to do something. And I think that's one of the things. The other thing, which may be coinciding with this to an extent, was also talked about when I was talking to Creatus over in Costa Rica, is that they're obviously not they don't have the funds or the means to put a full scale habitat in the water at this point in time, so they're doing scaled versions. And people have asked us before why we don't do it, and maybe that's something we need to look at too, as a scaled version of the habitat, to show off what we're trying to make, and to actually have something in the water, even if it's just like a pool or something along those lines, but to show off some of the innovations we're trying to do here, and to kind of show how it would work in that environment. So those are two things that we're looking at this year already, on top of everything else we're doing. We got the podcast we do. This will be a podcast, but also I do a weekly short on different topics on the podcast. Once again, this year, I'm trying to be more precise with the information we put on social media and connections we have. We're still working on connections from DEMA and underwater intervention that we're following up on. So there's a lot of information, a lot of stuff going on out there. Plus, then we've got these contacts with Martin and with Luis over at Creatus, and we tried to reach out to Deep, and we had initial good talks with them, but it kind of fell through. So there's a lot going on here. A lot, for me, but it's good, and I'm excited about putting some effort in and hopefully seeing some fruit from that labor. Guys, don't leave me hanging.
Oh, I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'll just write down ideas to talk about that you just made click in my head for us to talk about in that same vein. Are you?
Okay. No, go ahead.
I just didn't know. Are you got something to say about that stuff, Adam?
No.
Okay. I just because when you're ready to move on and don't have stuff, I want to talk about the short I listened to today that you did here recently.
Yeah, go for it. No, go for it. I'm going through my notes, so I got it there.
It was about the training. So you talked about training and stuff, and it kind of segued into the idea of the single atmosphere thing. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I just keep thinking of hyperbarics, because in the end, that's what it is. Even if it's, in this case, reverse for being a single atmosphere under pressure instead of a pressurized idea. And I just kept thinking how many, I don't want to say it wrong, but the expertise it's going to take if you start trying to get too big at a single atmosphere, then it's just you're gonna have to have people trained to, and the thing's not just hyperbarics or the engineering of it, but things to look for when it goes back to like maintenance and stuff. So it's gonna make its own training needs. As you move into it, because when it becomes a normal, you're going to have things that weren't normal before catch up to it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's and I was telling Adam last night, I don't know if people know who Gary Vaynerchuk is. He's a marketing and sales guru who's very flamboyant. I guess maybe flamboyant is not the right word, but very colorful in his language and stuff like that. But he's well known. Anyway, he does like live Q&As. Well, I hopped on one last night, and I was going to I got in the queue to have my question asked. They approved my question to get asked, but unfortunately,
they kept bumping him.
They kept bumping me. They did. Now I know I was next up, and he says that we are out of time, type of thing, because he had to go to another meeting. So I was going to get my question asked, and it was going to be about the fact that we are in a very niche market, and how do you since he runs a marketing company, how would he market a very niche company like that while we're doing that? If you go to YouTube and you type in underwater habitat, a good percentage of the material that comes up is Atlantis Sea Colony related material. So, I mean, we're flooding YouTube at least with content where there isn't much. I mean, there is other stuff out there you look for specific, but you're a good chance of seeing our stuff when you do that. And yeah, Sean's right here that you can achieve one atmosphere at any depth by running an equalizer hose to the surface. And yes, And I think definitely you're going to have hyperbaric chambers on most of your underwater habitat, because I think most people are, even if it's closed off and people aren't diving down to it, people may want to still dive, and you may still have a moon pool, and you may have to have some kind of lockout chamber type of thing to get to that, especially if you're at deeper than 10 meters. You have to start changing up the way you do stuff like those lines, especially if you want access to the outside world. If you don't, and you're just coming in either through a elevator or a sub or a tunnel or something along those lines, it doesn't make it matter. But if you're starting to access the outside world, it changes things up a little bit.
Something I thought was cool is from another podcast, and it's the oh wow, just completely lost it. Sea Dwellers Dive Shack, Bottom Dwellers Dive Shack. That's it. Because they're they're commercial divers for the most part, and they did a thing what's called a hyper van, and it's a company now. Which, because I looked it up, and the reason I'm bringing it up is because the idea is to put hyperbaric chambers, portable hyperbaric chambers, and the way they're setting it up, their future idea is it's going to work as an ambulance, so it can work as a normal ambulance until something is brought up. And the only reason I bring that up is because if you've listened to the statistics, hyperbaric chambers, there's plenty of chambers, but no one will mess with them. No one will, a lot that's it's in a weird place where they know it does good, but insurances and lawyers are having issues, and then probably in the end, someone decided they can't get enough money out of it yet. I mean, I hate to be so pessimistic, but at the same time, it seems the more realistic view of it.
Well, I think that's like a gray area in a lot of different types of business, especially when it comes to medicine and stuff, where it's like, hey, we're like very confident in this process or this service or whatever it is, but meanings it's not backed by other, certain, I guess, organizations. Then it raises that skepticism because they're like, oh, like kind of like what you're saying, like if insurance doesn't want to mess with it, then like people would be like, well, if insurance doesn't cover it, that means it must not be necessary. It must not be helpful, which isn't necessarily the case. There's tons of like medicines and procedures that insurance wants to dive away from because they don't see it as beneficial because they're going to have to spend money. Whereas kind of like what you're saying is like, no, it's proven this is a helpful thing, but meaning it's new, they want to be like, yeah. So
I like the idea that these guys are trying to normalize, it's so it can be everywhere, and normalize the idea of it. It can be everywhere. And go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Because that just makes it easier when it comes to making something like this, because like you said, you having a pod that either has one in it or is for a hyperbaric chamber for going in and out of different pressure would make it easier. It's more normal. It's an everyday thing then to people, the more normal it gets.
Got a bunch of comments in here. Glenn, there you go, babe. Babe is correct. You're correct for tonight.
You got it correct on there. Yeah.
It needs to be atmospheric pressure accessible from the underwater. Anytime you can do underwater instead of in the surface, it's safer time, commercial costs. Also, he's like, if you have the time and ability to do so without charging money for that, you win. And then Sean throws in here that there's two types of habits, ambient and pressurized. And obviously ASC's goal is to not be ambient just because of all the issues of the end goal of being as easy to come and go as you're on the land, so you don't have to worry about pressurization and decompression and stuff along those lines. Now that won't be all the habitats. Some of them, obviously they may want that depending on what they're doing with it, but the end goal is to make that transition from land to sea as frictionless and easy as possible. And so having a pressurized to as close to surface pressure as possible is the end goal. So yes.
Like an airplane.
Yeah, like an airplane.
Like an airplane. See, I can throw in smart comments.
Like an underwater airplane.
That should be the new business tagline. Is like, hey,
Like an underwater airplane.
Like, oh, so it moves? I'm like, no.
No.
But you get it.
But yeah, I had something I was going to throw on yours, babe, and I completely forgot what I was going to say. As I was sitting here, I should have wrote it down.
Probably that there's more airplanes in the ocean than there are submarines in the sky. Okay, just want to make sure.
But that is your fact for the day.
It's true.
Yeah, I hit it on the head. We're going to put that on a t-shirt. ASC. It's like an airplane underwater.
Sure.
No,
anyway.
I know this, I jumped a few topics, but going back to what Babe was saying about with the habitat requiring its own special maintenance and like training for that, it kind of reminds me of kind of like how a lot of automobiles are nowadays, where it's just like you have to be certified to work on certain automobiles, you know, where it's just like I could see like us offering a service type deal where it's just like we have people that like come do that maintenance, come do that inspections, like, you know, whatever it may be. And just, I mean, to me as a customer, it drives me nuts on certain things. I'll tell you that much, just because it's annoying sometimes. But however, it also makes sense from a business aspect to be like, hey, we know what we're doing with this. It's a specialized thing, you know, like instead of trying to teach you how to do it, we can just be, and then we're the ones liable for the repairs and are like making sure that like any maintenance or anything like that's done, like we're doing it the way we know how it's done per, you know, the engineering and the business.
Glenn wants to know what pays.
About
tree fitty.
It's about tree fitty.
To me, that goes back to what we talked about some months ago, the whole blue economy thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be driving part of that blue economy because you can have commercial divers. That's, you know, that's their niche.
Over the years, I've had many private message me on the ASC thing. Hey, are you guys hiring? Are you guys hiring? Type of stuff like that. So, I mean, I know that it is
like
a
we
field.
want to.
That's what I say. I know it's a field that I follow several groups on Facebook even that they're always looking for work. And I don't try to think too far ahead as far as that kind of stuff goes, because I'm trying to focus on let's just get what we can do right now done. But at the same time, I if we start selling these instead of like leasing and somebody's buying them, that would be a revenue source of having our own maintenance crew that you can, have a monthly maintenance fee attached to whatever. And we're sending guys out there to take care of cleaning your windows, checking filters, whatever, that needs to transpire on your underwater house.
And honestly, I'm sure a lot of those guys that like do the underwater welding and stuff, they'd love to do that because it's probably much safer than some of the other jobs they get hired to do.
Yeah.
It's not be as deep either. It'll probably be in better waters.
They're like, we're going to need you to dive down to where you can't see and do all this welding and all that, and then not know if what's nibbling at your feet. But this would be a dream job for them, probably.
Yeah, maybe something like that, Glenn. Like he sees, I see an underwater express temp agency. I don't know. This is an aspect that is like I don't probably put too much thought into it because it's like let's just get some underwater habitats in the water, and it will the need will create its own work.
I think it would be an easy problem to fix because I think after you have one or two of them in, then it's just like, all right, let's partner up with like underwater maintenance folks for now and be like, hey, this is what we need, to partner with you guys for now, and like if you could go check this out once every 6 months or whatever it is, until like you create like what Babe was saying, like your own training program, your own maintenance program, whatever it may be. So to me, like that kind of process is already out there. It's just we would just need to modify it to our
right.
To our needs.
That's like your HVAC systems now. You buy a heater, air conditioner, and that's what they put you on this plan. You got the maintenance, and they contact you and annoy you to no end with emails for every other week. It'll be
if I see some guy down there with a Windex bottle like underwater, just like paper towels trying to wipe windows, and be a little upset.
But I think once again, the thing also is with technology and stuff like that, it takes a lot of that guesswork out there because we can have everything technology wise. We'll know what everything's looking like. Is your filters good? Is there a buildup here? Is there a leak here? Whatever. all the information, telemetry will be coming back, and we'll know. So yeah, it's going to be a
all the
we
different
won't
types of sensors and stuff out there is easy.
we won't have to be bothering the end person with it. It's just we know, hey, all right, this needs to be replaced, type of thing.
Hidden cameras.
Yep.
Have your own airlock to sneak into there.
We know what Adam's job is going to be.
just sneaking in the middle of the night. Hey,
Glenn's like, you guys have an opening to an entire new vocation. Yeah. What's that
I
thing?
mean, really, an underwater handyman is what we need.
Yeah, and I say, the amount of, and I'm not, obviously I'm not in this for the money, or I've probably been doing things a little differently than I've been doing them. It's just to get these things built and get them out there. But the possibility for the different jobs that are created from underwater habitats. I mean, that's what my next short will be on. Is the jobs coming off of underwater habitats. But yeah, I think there's a lot of different things that can come off of this and create a lot of new industries, and can be, like Babe was saying, it's part of the blue revolution, the blue economy, and be a different one of the branches of that. I mean, most of the people are in the blue economy, blue revolution thing are always focused on above water, whether it's energy production, all that kind of stuff. There's not too many of us really working on underwater unless you're doing like mining and stuff along those lines. So,
didn't you say at one point in your life you looked into being an underwater welder, Brennan?
I did. Glenn's like, underwater maintenance programs many commercial dive companies do so now. Yeah. Yep. But yeah, out of high school, I applied. I got information from like 4 different dive schools to go do underwater welding.
Were you already scuba certified at that point?
I
or
was
it
not. Nope. So there's one of the things I seriously looked at, but I decided not to. So I go back and forth whether I should have or not. Part of me is like, I wish I would have done it. Part of me is like, I'm glad I didn't. So, because I was also really what I did is I started reading deep into it and talking about the conditions and like people would like pop off a finger and stuff along those lines underwater and stuff like that. And then I go welding 2 years after a year after high school and cut the end of my finger off anyway. So it was like, well, maybe I should have just gone that route anyway.
And I think it's one of those things too, where you think of like some of the jobs you'd be like, oh, that'd be pretty cool, like where it's at, and like the weather would probably be nice, the diving would be probably pretty nice. And then there's like those ones that are like super sketchy and super like, oh, like I think a lot about that what is it, the Delta P incident or whatever it was, or Delta something, where they got sucked into that tube.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that just scares the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Do you not know what I'm talking about, babe?
No, I do know it.
Oh, okay.
It's like, that's stuff like that should never happen.
Yeah. Granted, when you read into that, there was a lot of things that like.
But once again, it's a possibility. But so, So I went and I became a welder, and then I got certified. So I know how to do both, just not underwater.
You're just like I just carry the regular welder underwater, right? Like,
nope. All right,
go ahead, plug it in.
You guys keep up what you're doing. I need to be at work at 6:30 a.m. So I'll see you. Hey, Glenn, thanks. I saw your message, by the way. I'll shoot you a message offline too. But thanks for hopping in here.
Thanks for coming, Glenn.
Yeah.
We love seeing you. And we love to be seen.
Okay. With that note,
okay.
I think unless you guys had some more stuff you want to dive into, I think I've exhausted my notes and for this evening.
No, I can take us out if that's okay with you guys, and then we can
take us out.
We can have the meeting after. All right, guys, you ready for this? LannisCCollin.com. We have a website. It's 2024. We have a website. Had it for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a while.
I'm trying to make it seem like it was something like in the early 90s where it's just like,
hey,
you ever been on the internet?
In the 90s, I had a GeoCities website for LANC Colony.
This has been around a while, guys. And actually, I remember your GeoCities website, actually. Anyways, LannisCCollin.com. From there, you can do so many different things. Like we have a resource page on there Brendan uploads that with books and podcasts and YouTube channels you might want to check out if you're interested in the underwater technology and just scuba related stuff and just live cams and whatever. He's got tons of resources on there. A lot of stuff you can check out.
That's underwater live cams, by the way.
Underwater live. Yeah, let's make sure we're very specific about kind of live cams. We're just linking up down there. Anyways, also social media. We have Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, LinkedIn. Also the link to the podcast page. Or to the podcast. It's on all platforms. It's basically Brendan does a lot of shorts, and then he also takes these live streams, edits them up, and gets them in the podcast form as well.
Also, I've been creating some new content. I didn't even post it out there, but I created one on. It's a whole entire video on what do I even make, but I've got one I just posted on YouTube. What was it on? That's really great. I can't remember what video I made, but I've been making an individual, personalized ASC content. I made that one for underwater habits, for underwater data centers, and then I just made another one, posted it a couple weeks ago for something, and I'm working on another one now, and I'll give you a sneak peek on it. I'm going to talk about why space is a bad path, and that you should be focusing on underwater habitats, and why space won't work out.
If Elon Musk shuts us down, I'm going to be so upset with you, Brendan. But run in your mouth.
I've wasted all this time and money on this, and I should have been investing in underwater habitats.
Anyways, from the website, you can also get the link to our
Discord. It was OTEC, by the way, Ocean Thermal Energy Conversion.
Oh,
yep. I just watched it. Yep.
Okay.
Discord. We have a Discord channel. So if you want to hop on that and talk with us, we're always on that. We always welcome you in as soon as you get there. Brendan and I kind of are speaking to who can be the first one to say hi to you as soon as we get in there, it seems.
Hi.
Hey, welcome. Different channels in the Discord as well. So if you want to talk about movies and stuff, like The Abyss, we have a channel just for movies and entertainment. But we also have channels for just talking about scuba stuff, submarines and boats, stuff like that. Locations, technologies, whatever it is, we kind of have focused different channels for that. So it's really cool. A lot of people are bringing their ideas and questioning ours in a good way, asking the questions about everything. Also, LetUsSeeColony.com/merch. Yo, babe, take that shirt off and show it in front of the camera quick. Pop that shirt off quick. No, a lot of cool different designs for shirts and mugs and mouse pads and a little bit of everything over there. So go over to AtlantaSeaColony.com/merch. Plus, when you buy stuff there, some of that comes our way too. And guess what? We like that. That helps. We're talking about Patreon. Jump on Patreon. Right now we have Brian Acosta, Matthew Cathy, Martin Reese, S-Babe, Hyde, Adam Jewell, and Daddy Ron Trexler. I don't know if I should say it like that. Sorry. I won't say it like that in the future.
Gosh.
And in my head, it sounded pretty hype, but never mind.
Wow.
Edit that out for the podcast. Form.
Nope.
What kind of live cams are these again?
Oh, what do you do?
Talking about things I'm recording and keeping a record at them.
Oh, man. Anyways, those are the patrons, and we thank you for their support. Like I said, we mentioned earlier, a lot of what we've been talking about lately is how we're going to make that even more, I guess, better, improved, and all that, and different incentives or whatever. I don't know if that's the right word, but
give value back.
Get value out of the Patreon, right?
Because definitely, I don't feel yeah.
And one last thing is go follow Colonize the Ocean podcast. Like I said, Brendan puts up shorts there and sometimes turns these into a podcast form as well. So if you can't always tune in, or maybe you just don't want to have YouTube or whatever up when you're watching the replay, put in your earbuds and you can just listen to us on it's on all the podcast players. I prefer Castbox. That's what I use, and it's on there. So but that's just me. Other than that, gentlemen, thanks for another wonderful night. And
Yes.
thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And we will see you soon. Hopefully, at least in a month, if not sooner.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So, sorry, I don't have the thing ready. We'll talk to you guys later.